Alright, so I've been getting a lot of comments about doing like a settings video and all that type of stuff, and as Verdansk is just around the corner, I think it would be the perfect time to basically give anyone that's either a new player or someone that's returning, or even players that still play but maybe want to learn a thing or two, a whole guide on like how to prep yourself for Verdansk. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to fully utilize Omni movement, as well as show all my settings at the end of the video. So if you just want to see my settings, you can skip to the end. I'll have timestamps below. But I would highly recommend you watch this whole video because there might be some tips here that could improve your gameplay a lot. And without further ado, let's begin. So we're starting off with the beginner category, and we're going to show how we can use Omni movement because this is the first Call of Duty to have Omni movement, and it unlocks a lot of new stuff that you couldn't do in old cards. So in a lot of the new recent cards, you know, you can sprint around and you can slide and all that stuff. But in this card, it allows you to sprint in any direction you want at all, as well as sliding in any direction, and even dolphin diving in any direction. And you can even ADS and shoot while dolphin diving, which allows you to be pretty free. You can use this in many ways in fights. For example, let's say you know there's an enemy there and you're coming around the corner. You can keep your crosshair centered around this area but still slide and then chow that guy. Because the nice thing you can do is you can actually ADS while sliding and shoot as well as dolphin dive. So you can get ready for the guy, but still be able to, you know, do some movement to kind of duke him out a little bit. Our next tip will be ADS jumping. Just a simple, you know, jump shot that people have done on every card. Now it's a bit better that you can just, you know, sprint in one direction and keep a crosshair, but you can still do the forward motion and then turn it, because what you can't do is tactical sprint to the side, because in the game there is a sprint and there's a tactical sprint, and you only have your tactical sprint for about 4 seconds-ish until it runs out. And then you gotta either stop sprinting or do some other stuff to like refresh your tac sprint. So as you see, my gun is like up in the sky here. It's like pointed upwards. And once it stops doing that, that's when it's gonna stop tac sprinting. And I'm gonna lose about 20% of my movement. And you're not gonna get that tac sprint back until you start standing still, or like I'll explain later, do some methods to basically refresh it. And using the tac sprint for your slides or for your dolphin dives will actually allow you to get more distance than if you just did it with a sideways one. And that goes for jump shots too. So if you want to get further jump shots, you can learn how to use tac sprint as a way to basically launch yourself a bit further. And for our last tip on the beginner category is about jump sliding. Now we all know jump shotting and we all know sliding now, like you saw before, but you can actually jump into a slide, which is decent. But even better, you can jump ADS and then you can slide. So if you jump in midair, ADS and slide, you get a really big speed boost, as well as always being ready to, you know, shoot someone. This is basically my preferable way to chow anyone around a corner. Let's say, you know, someone has chased you outside this building, you're running away from him, you go around this corner and you jump slide chow them like that. It's easily the best way to duke someone. It lets you get a lot of movement speed while being able to still center your crosshair where you need to be aiming at that guy. So yeah, if you're in a lot of fights, try to utilize the jump ADS mechanic as much as you can. Okay, so now we're onto the intermediate category. And to start off, we're going to change one setting. We're going to head over into our settings here, and we're going to go onto keyboard and mouse, or controller if you play controller, but you should be on keyboard and mouse, it's the better input. And we're going to want to go over to the movement category up here. And the first setting you'll see is sprint assist. You're going to want to turn this on to tactical sprint assist, and you want to put a delay all the way to 0, and make sure that sprint assist sideways and sprint assist backwards are both toggled on. Now once you've done that, it's going to take a little bit of getting used to, but it's basically going to make it so when you press WASD, it's going to be sprinting at all times. So I'm not going to press the sprint button, I'm just going to press A, I'm sprinting, D, I'm sprinting, W, I'm tac sprinting, and then once tac sprint runs out, it's just going to be sprinting for me. This is definitely the better way to have your keyboard set up. Takes a bit of getting used to, and it can mess up with your sprinter fire speeds a little bit when you're trying to shoot someone, but it lets you use Omni movement a hell of a lot quicker. Because now that you're sprinting at all times, it's easier to, like, you know, quick peek around the corner and just, like, you know, quickly engage like that, stuff like that. It just wouldn't be possible if you're constantly mashing the sprint button, because when you press one of the directional keys, you are instantly sprinting and you're instantly able to go into a slide and all that. But if you're having to press shift every time, you're giving yourself just a small delay and a small bit of slowing down that will affect you a lot in gunfights. Alright, so now we're going to talk about slide cancelling. So slide cancelling has been a thing in COD for a long time, but it didn't become very useful or popular until Modern Warfare 2019. Because in Modern Warfare 2019, slide cancels would make your hitbox pretty hard to shoot at, so a lot of people would slide cancel around the place in Warzone just to make it harder for people to like snipe or shoot them with an assault rifle. But the main reason people always spam the slide cancel is that it actually refreshed your tac sprint. It no longer works like that anymore, but slide cancelling is still very, very useful inside of gunfights. So let me show you what I mean. A normal slide basically goes on for that long. It's about a second long, takes you that far, and you're kind of stuck in this sliding animation. But with a slide cancel, you can cancel the slide faster and basically let you get ready for a fight. I forgot to mention while recording, but the way to actually slide cancel is to press the jump button while you're sliding. So that'll be spacebar on keyboard and mouse. On PlayStation, that'll be X, and on Xbox, that'll be A. So you just press the jump button, and that's going to cancel your slide for you. A slide cancel can be really useful when you're trying to like snap around a corner and chow someone, because you're getting right back up and you're not like, you know, constantly sliding, having to, you know, adjust your aim for the movement. And the great thing about slide cancelling too is, like it was in Modern Warfare 2019, it does make you a lot harder to hit at than if you're just a normal running person. So if you're ever around, just throw in the odd slide or two. It's going to let your attack sprint duration extend a little bit, and your slide speed is basically going to be of what your attack sprint is. So you're technically just giving yourself a longer attack sprint. And like I said, it doesn't fully refresh your attack sprint, but there is a little bit of it coming back per slide, but not to the amount that 2019 did. But as you can see, I am getting my attack sprint back. If I was to just sprint, it takes a long time until I get my attack sprint back, but slide cancelling allows it just to come back a little bit faster. And on the topic of attack sprinting, we're going to talk about why it's useful to keep your attack sprint up. Like all the other mechanics mentioned before, you kind of want to keep as much attack sprint as you can at all times, because attack sprinting is going to allow you to, you know, swing corners faster, slide around corners faster, jump slide faster. All that stuff, you kind of want it to be as fast as possible, just to make it harder and harder for the enemies to aim, kind of break their angles. As well as obviously just moving around the map in general. You just want to be attack sprinting because you're going to be faster and you're going to be able to rotate into zone faster and all that type of stuff. So I'll show you the 3 ways that you can basically refresh your attack sprint as much as you can. And the first one is nothing special. It's literally just sprinting. In this game, you get about 4 to 5 seconds of attack sprinting roughly. I think it depends on the gun. And then you stop attack sprinting. And then you're kind of just stuck in a normal sprint, and you'll get right back into attack sprint. The second attack sprint is only going to last you like 1 second, because it's only refreshed up to like 20% of your attack sprint, and then it's just going to deplete again, because you're going to kind of imagine it like a stamina bar, right? So it's not wrong to just sprint around the place and just let the attack sprint refresh itself, but there's definitely better ways to kind of keep yourself in a flow state and keep your movement going. And the second way to refresh your attack sprint, like we said before, is slide cancelling, and a new mechanic which I'll show called dolphin dive cancelling. So yeah, with slide cancelling, you kind of want to let the slide go on for a while instead of cancelling for too long, almost the whole slide duration. And going down like slopes, like staircases, will definitely help you keep some more speed while you're sliding basically. And this will allow you to just get back your attack sprint a little bit faster than you would, as well as keeping the momentum of attack sprint when you slide. So another thing I like to do is have a bit of attack sprint and then just jump slide cancel twice, maybe 3 times, and you'll have your attack sprint back. Just keeps you in that flow state, and especially just makes it harder for enemies to hit you, which is pretty important. And for the third way to refresh your attack sprint will actually be dolphin dive cancelling. So in this game, when you dolphin dive, it's kind of hard to get back up easily, as you're kind of stuck on the floor for a while and you basically slow down a whole lot. But if you find a small ledge like this where you can basically kick the back of your feet off when you dolphin dive, it basically cancels the dolphin dive and just lets you stand right back up. So I'll show you what it looks like when you dolphin dive normally, when you dolphin dive over the wall, and then when you kick your feet back on the wall. So when you dolphin dive normally, it takes this long to get back up, pretty slow. Same goes for dolphin diving over the wall, it just takes a while to get up. But if you dolphin dive in a way where you perfectly land on the back of the wall, you can basically cancel out the dolphin dive and just stand right back up. Like that. And the great thing about this is while you dolphin dive, you're actually refreshing your attack sprint meter. So it's a really good way of just getting back your attack sprint to just keep that flow state going. It does technically slow you down just a little bit, especially if you don't do it perfectly, but it's still faster than just like normal sprinting, and it's especially harder for enemies to hit you or predict that you're going to basically just stand right back out of a dolphin dive. Because for them, they're seeing a full dolphin dive and they're expecting you to be on the floor, and then you just stand right back up ready to shoot them basically. So yeah, dolphin diving off ledges, pretty important. And one last small tip is that if you're running stims in Warzone, you can just pop one stim and it's going to give you a speed boost and give your attack sprint right back up to full. So if you find some stims on the floor or you have them in your loadout, just pop a quick stim, you're going to get your attack sprint back, and in Warzone you're actually going to get a little speed boost as well. Alright, and now we're going to move on to the advanced section. Now for the advanced section, we're going to go back into our settings because there's actually one setting you keyboard and mouse players want to change. So we're going to head over to keyboard and mouse. We're going to go to keybinds. We're going to scroll down until we see movement advanced binds. And as you can see, I have a dedicated button just for the button slide. Now the default button to crouch and slide is C. So I've set my slide to C and I've set my crouch to V. So as you can see, slide is on C. I go out of this menu, my crouch/slide is on V, but I never use it for sliding. I only use the slide button to slide. If we could bind a button that was only crouch and just crouch, I would definitely do that. Unfortunately, we can't because this game's amazing. Now, the reason you do this is for two reasons, basically. One, it completely eliminates you accidentally dead sliding. And what a dead slide is when you go to slide and you basically just either crouch in place or you just stop yourself in place. That's called a dead slide. So as you see here, that's dead slide. I'm trying slide cancel to go back into another slide. I'm just ending up crouching by accident. It's really hard to spam the slide. You just can't, it just won't put you back into it basically. It just won't allow you to do it. It just kind of crouches in place. But if you have a dedicated slide button, the only thing it knows to do is slide, and it actually lets you slide way faster than you physically can if you have a button to crouch. And on top of that, you can actually hold the slide button as well as spacebar to cancel your slide, and it basically just lets you loop slide cancels, which is called skating. And here's an example of that. So as you can see, you can slide way faster than you can with just the regular crouch button. Where again, if I try to spam slide cancels here, I just end up crouching by accident in place a little bit. It's I cannot slide past the point where I'm trying to. But with a dedicated slide button, I can very easily just chain, an extra slide or two that I want to do next to each other. Now, skating is a really good mechanic because you can do a lot of duking with it, but it takes some time to practice it. You can do a lot of mechanics like sliding around a corner and then quickly going back. Basically like a quick peek with a lot of movement where it's going to be hard for them to hit you, as well as like we did earlier, like a jump shot and then into another slide right after. This allows you just get ready for the gunfight as much as possible while still moving a lot, so it's hard for the enemy to hit you. This is by far how I take most of my fights. It's basically just a big jump slide and then a slide cancel after. It's the easiest way to duke your enemies. So yeah, this is for the advanced players. If you're just getting into a game, maybe give it a little bit before you change it. But if you really want to get that movement down straight away, or you've been playing the game for a while, I'd highly recommend you add a dedicated slide button because it does let you slide cancel a lot faster than you usually can and completely eliminates yourself from accidentally dead sliding, so you just kind of get stuck in place. And our final two tips are kind of going to be conjoined, but they're a little bit separated. So in Black Ops 6, as well as Warzone, you have a dedicated melee. Now, in my settings, you can actually bind a button to dedicated melee because the default way of pulling it out is to hold your melee button. So if you guys want to do that as well, all you gotta do is go to your settings, keyboard and mouse, and you're gonna want to scroll down until you get to the combat advanced keybinds. You want to click on that, and you'll see switch to melee weapon. I've binded mine to Q. You can choose whatever you want. You're just going to make sure that if you swap it for a button that's binded to something else, that you bind that to a different button. But yeah, I've got mine set as Q, which basically just, allows me to just press Q on my keyboard and I've instantly got it out. Because if you don't have it like that, you're going to have to hold the melee button, which has a little bit of a delay, and sometimes you can accidentally hit. You can even turn off the setting to hold the melee button to whip out your melee weapon so you don't accidentally do that, which is how I have it set, but I'll show you all of that when I show all my settings. So like what we were talking about earlier, with tactical sprint, you do actually have a stamina bar and it only lasts around 4 to 5 seconds. And I was talking about how important it is to keep your attack sprint up. Well, with a melee weapon, of course, the fastest running weapons in the game, you actually have infinite tactical sprint when holding them out. This basically means that if you're ever in a situation where, you need to run from zone or you're out in the open, any situation I would say that isn't fighting, you should be holding your melee weapon out because you can sprint around the map constantly and you don't have to do any crazy movement to try and keep your attack sprint up. You can just simply do a couple slides here and there, keep yourself, moving from snipers. But at the end of the day, you have infinite attack sprint, so you're going to be running at max speed all the time. So just like CS and Valorant, super important, just get that knife out every single time you're not fighting. You want to be moving as fast as you can, basically, to rotate into zone, get to your teammates in time. Everything. Very, very important to keep your melee weapon out. As for actual meleeing the enemies, it's pretty bad. So if you suddenly have someone jump up on you, your best choice is just to kind of run away from the fight. So let's say like I'm running into a building and I like run around with my melee weapon, not expecting anyone. There's someone in the corner. Instead of being like, oh shit, you know, I'm gonna switch to my weapon. If you see him in the corner, just keep fucking running. You have a melee weapon out, you're going to be sprinting far. If you're not in too open of an area, just run away from him and then just re-armor, replate up, get ready for the fight, and then challenge when you're ready. It's not worth it to just, you know, take the fight when you have to switch weapon and then aim at him and then, you know, try beat him time to kill wise when he was already sitting in the corner ready for you. So yeah, keep your melee weapon out whenever you're not shooting, basically. And I was saying how this is combined into 2 tips because the last tip I'm going to be showing you is basically how to use the melee weapon within fights. So like on the earlier tip I was saying, you basically always want to keep your melee weapon when not fighting, and that includes while actually in fights, because you can use melee weapons as a way to, you know, quickly run away from an enemy and then re-chow them to, you know, get that extra speed to run away from them. So let's say there's a guy here, he's chasing you, you whip out your melee weapon to, you know, quickly run faster and then flank him, you know? Stuff like that. Whipping out the melee weapon as much as you can is going to be helping you so much. Just don't do it too much to the point where you have it out right in front of the enemy, because then that's going to get you killed. But try to get into the habit of just whipping out that melee weapon. You get infinite attack sprint, so it basically pauses your stamina bar, so then when you get back to your weapon, you still have your full attack sprint or however much attack sprint you have when you whipped out your melee weapon. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Omni movement guide to prep yourself for Verdansk. I'm now going to showcase all of my settings, my graphic settings, my keyboard and mouse settings, my interface, basically absolutely everything I use. So feel free to copy whatever you need to copy. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you tomorrow.